Chapter 7 bankruptcy is often the least expensive and fastest debt relief option, but you have to qualify for that. You also can lose your house or your car in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So in this video, I will cover just how to qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And if you watch until the end, you'll also understand 3 important reasons why you may qualify, but may not want to file bankruptcy. So let's get started. Welcome to the Ascend Finance YouTube channel, where we take complex topics such as Chapter 7 qualification and simplify them into simple, human, understandable language. My name is Ben and I'm the CEO. One of the most common questions that we get at Ascend every day is, do I qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy? So what we did was we built a free Chapter 7 cost and qualification calculator that's based on the bankruptcy forms that I included in the description below, or you can visit us at tryascend.com and also see the Chapter 7 qualification calculator there. It's a free estimate. It doesn't even require an email address, and it also is based on bankruptcy forms. So it's a really good estimate of whether you can qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. With that being said, here's what we're going to cover in this video. First, we'll cover the means test and bankruptcy qualification. Second, we're going to talk about how to calculate your current monthly income for the means test for qualification. Third, we're going to cover, let's say your income exceeds the means test, and are there expenses that will help you get below the means test to qualify for an above median Chapter 7. And then finally, we're going to cover 3 reasons why you may qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, but do not want to file. Now, you're probably looking at this list and saying, wow, you have a lot of content here. How am I going to get through it all? And the last thing I would want to do is to hear myself speak for that much time. So we include the chapters below so you can skip around, or I also like to watch my videos on 1.5 speed because that's just what I like to do. And before I begin, I want to let you know that your situation is unique. My goal is to answer all your questions about Chapter 7 qualification, but if I don't, I'd love to if you can ask the question in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Also, if this is helpful, I'd love it if you could subscribe to our community or like this video. This really encourages me to me and motivates me to continue to build these content videos that can help you get out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster. I want to jump right in, so let's get started. So you're looking at Chapter 7 qualification and you're wondering, what is the means test? And the means test is a standard bankruptcy form that you complete and file with the bankruptcy court. The form calculates your average monthly income. That figure is multiplied by 12 to calculate your average annual income. The means test applies to your entire household. Therefore, even if your spouse is not filing for bankruptcy, you must include his or her income when calculating the means test. The reason you must use household income from the means test is because the test compares your average household income to the average income for a household size of the same size in your state. The figures used to calculate your average income for your state come from the Census Bureau data. In other words, the test determines if your household's average annual income is higher or lower than the household in your state with the same number of people. Doing that comparison can then really help you understand whether you have the means to pay back some of the debt to your creditors, or whether you should be able to qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy and get relief from that debt and get all of that unsecured debt discharged. So you may be wondering where you get the forms for the Chapter 7 means test. I included a link in the description below with the different forms that you would use to determine whether you may qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And also our Chapter 7 calculator in the description below is based on those forms. So it takes away some of the complexity of these forms, because once you look at them, they can be a little messy. So if you're like me, you may be looking at these forms and wondering, how do I calculate my current monthly income for the means test when my income is variable? Maybe I get some income here, some income there. So the means test is used to calculate your current monthly income. And current monthly income, also known as CMI, is an income you receive from all sources during the 6 months before filing for bankruptcy. So let's take a look at an example. If you file for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy petition on April 7th, your CMI would be based on all the income you received preceding the 6 months. So from October 1st through March 31st. Now you're probably looking at that and being like, well, I don't know what that is. And what we did is we built another calculator called the average income calculator. And I included a link in the description below that you can take, and that helps you kind of estimate what your average income would be. Now remember, you must report all of your household income. So you must include your spouse's income even if they are not filing for bankruptcy relief. So let's talk about some of the income you need to include on the means test. And it is including but not limited to wages, salaries, bonuses, overtime income, net rental income, commissions, 1099 income, child support and alimony, dividends, interest and royalties, pensions and retirement income, net income from business operating, workers' compensation benefits, annuity payments, unemployment compensation. So to calculate your monthly income, add all the income from all those sources from the 6 month before filing and divide that number by 6. Now you need to use your gross income before deductions, except in the case of rental or income from and business income. So you are not required to include payments received under the Social Security Act, so SSDI, SSI, and Social Security retirement as monthly income on the means test. However, you must include this income when you complete other bankruptcy forms, including Schedule I. Schedule I is essentially a snapshot of your monthly income. If you have a significant amount of disposable income, and disposable income basically means income you could pay towards your debts, you could be disqualified from Chapter 7 bankruptcy even if you pass the means test. Now, let's say you take the Chapter 7 calculator or look at the forms and your income exceeds that of the mean test. Are there expenses or anything that you can use to get below the means test? So your current monthly income again is multiplied by 12 to calculate your average annual income. Your average annual income is compared to the average income for the households in your state. Now, let's say, like we were talking about before, if your annual income is below that the state median income, you sort of pass that means test and you may be able to qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy discharge. However, if your annual income exceeds that of your state average based on your state median income set by the government, you may need to conduct a second test to identify whether there's deductible expenses that may still allow you to qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Now, Ascend is all about calculators. We also built a Chapter 7 above median means test calculator that I'll include in the description below. And that calculator basically uses some of the other means test forms to help make that determination or that estimate. So now that you're like, I have this, maybe my income is above it, but I know I don't have any disposable income. Let's talk about just deductible expenses that may help you with the means test. So you may actually be able to deduct a certain amount of expenses from the mean test, and those are including, but not limited to, potentially income taxes, mandatory employment deductions such as union dues, retirement plans, and uniforms, health and disability insurance premiums, term life insurance premiums, secured debt payments for your car and your home, childcare expenses that are deemed necessary. Another thing is that your bankruptcy attorney that you decide to work with can help you kind of process these with you. So also some of the other expenses that you may be able to use are alimony and child support payments, charitable contributions up to a limited percentage of your income, and you may be able to deduct other certain expenses that are for special circumstances. However, you may need to actually have proof of those expenses when you are the means test together. In addition, but not limited to, there are living expenses that may be able to deductible in normal living, including food and household supplies and clothing. But again, these would have to be expenses that are maybe potentially much higher than the normal amount that would be allocated through the IRS. And you'd probably have to make a case for why you would need those expenses. And that's just something that you should be aware of when you're kind of looking at whether to use deductible expenses for trying to qualify for the means test above median. So finally, I want to cover 3 reasons where you may qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, but definitely don't want to file. The first is you may lose belongings. And there are bankruptcy exemptions that can help you protect some of those belongings in Chapter 7 bankruptcy. But let's say you have $200,000 of home equity in your house, and the Chapter 7 bankruptcy exemption in your state only allows $100,000 of equity, so you're $100,000 above it. In that situation, the trustee may try to sell your home in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and then pay off your creditors. You probably don't want that. Not many people I speak with every day want that. So what does that look like? So our Chapter 7 calculator below actually has another question that asks, do you have a risk of losing assets? Do you want to know whether you have that risk of losing assets? So you can take that calculator, which will help you kind of understand that option for you. The second thing is you may want to buy a house the next year, or you may want to buy a car in the next few months. And so Chapter 7 bankruptcy often means that you will not be able to purchase those for a period of time, maybe specifically for a home, it might be 2 or 4 years. So if you want to buy a house in the next year, then Chapter 7 bankruptcy may not be the right option for you, but that's really dependent on your situation. And finally, the third reason is you may not want to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy if you have too little debt. So let's say you have $3,000 in debt and you're getting hounded by the creditors for that debt, but let's say it costs $2,500 or $1,500 or something to file the bankruptcy. In that situation, you may be paying more to attorney fees and the other fees than you would if you just negotiate and settle the debt directly. So those are three options where you may qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy and not file. So, and finally, the last question may be, should you file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy? And the answer to that is ultimately your decision, and you know your finances best. We built the Chapter 7 calculator below that can help you kind of estimate your Chapter 7 qualification and the cost of Chapter 7 bankruptcy in your zip code and city. Hopefully that's a free resource that can be really helpful. But yeah, I'd love to turn it over to you. If you have any questions or anything about Chapter 7 bankruptcy and qualification, please let us know. There's a lot of nuances with Chapter 7 qualification, and it's something that we really specialize in, so we'd love to answer any questions that you have. Thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.